love, this culture of balance, the culture called Mayat. Whereas these Africans took this culture and took it down into southern Africa and built the stone cities of Zimbabwe. Took this culture along the east coast of Africa and built Swahili civilization. Took this culture up into the highlands of Ethiopia and laid the foundation for Coptic Christianity in Ethiopia, with King Lalibela building 12 stone churches in New Jerusalem from the ground down, wonders of the world. Africans who took this culture into West Africa, into the savannah, and built the great city-states of Ghana, Mali, and Songhai, the great empires of the so-called Middle Age period. Africans who went into the city-states and the forests of the Akan and the Bakongo and the Yoruba and the Zulu and the Entebbe and laid a foundation of greatness for African people. We ask these Africans to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future. We ask these Africans who were pulled out of Africa, taken out of their villages, raped and pillaged in a destructive process conceived in Europe, ships coming to Africa, hanging on the coast of Africa, inducing Africans to become involved in this system of death. We ask these Africans yanked out of their villages all along the coast of Africa, put into the concentration camps, the dungeons, the Dachau, the Buchenwald along the coast of Africa, in Ghana and Ivory Coast, in Gore, in Nigeria, in Dahomey, in Benin, in Angola, all around the coast of Africa to Fort Jesus in Mombasa. We ask these Africans put into these concentration camps of death to wait those death ships that came in the night, the death ships that took us across the Middle Passage. We ask these Africans who died in the holes of these ships to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future. Africans who laid down this tradition of resistance, this tradition of struggle that is a part of us. Africans who took the tradition from the holes of the ships, went up into the highlands of Brazil and created the great free republic of Palmares, the first free republic in these Americas. Africans who went into the backwoods of Suriname and Guyana and created the Bush Negro republics of the Suramaka and the Juka. Africans who went into the highlands of the islands of the Caribbean, creating the Maroon communities, the Native American communities. Africans who went back into the backwoods and swamps of Georgia and Florida, blended and bonded with the Seminole Indians, and created the great Seminole Wars of resistance. Africans following the priest Bookman. Bookman went into the highlands of Haiti, conceived and planned and plotted the greatest slave rebellion in the history of the world, the Haitian Revolution. Africans who laid down this enormous tradition. We need these Africans to be with us, to strengthen us, and ask the God Almighty Allah to strengthen us for a vision for the future. We ask these Africans who continue this tradition of liberation and struggle, Africans who spoke to the heart and spirit of Nat Turner, Denmark Vesey, Africans who spoke to the heart of Nani and Gojo in the Caribbean, Africans who spoke to the heart of your great-grandparents who left this enormous tradition of struggle and liberation. It is on this tradition that we stand. It is this tradition that is nourishing us. It is this tradition that will prepare us for a meaningful future. And we ask the God, force in the universe, and these ancestors to be with us, to strengthen us, and give us a vision for the future. And we do this in the name of African posterity. Brothers and sisters, it's not about a paralysis of analysis, it's about a systems analysis. That which I laid down before you is in the books. That which I laid down before you is in the oral tradition. It's knowledge that you can tap into. Organize around it, form the study groups, because we have to destroy this devastation of the Holocaust that is still with us. As we look at this thing in a systemic way, we can see there are three levels or stages of the great African Holocaust that we need to master. One is the Holocaust of enslavement, in which ships left Europe. Ships left Europe, planned a process of destruction in Europe, financed in Europe, ensured by Europeans, Jews and Gentiles, Catholics and Protestants, financing the process of our death and destruction. The triangular slave trade is the key to understanding the African Holocaust. Ships left Europe and went to the coast of Africa. And in the imposition of the European on the coast of Africa, are the forts and dungeons along the coast of Ghana alone. Every summer we go on a pilgrimage to Africa to commune with our ancestors. If you wonder why Dr. Jefferies has the strength that he has to resist this system of death and destruction, it is because every summer he is in those dungeons where the blood and spirit of our ancestors speaks to me, and it allows me to go forth with an unusual strength that you have to tap into and understand. We will be going to Africa again in July and again in August. I was there when the attack came in '91. I was communing with the ancestors. I was standing in the dirt and the blood that for hundreds of years had yanked our people out of Africa. I was in those dungeons, and when they blew out the candles and turned out the lights, we were in utter and complete blackness where nothing could be heard but the pounding of our heart and the mourning of our people. This is a process that lasted from 1482 in the dungeon of Amina until the 1980s. It's still going on, brothers and sisters. The death and destruction is still going on. That's the third stage of the Holocaust. Holocaust of enslavement. Ships leaving Europe, going to Africa, the Middle Passage to the Caribbean, Brazil, and other areas. Then going back to Europe. European-made profit, three-way profit on our death and destruction. And the legacy of that is still happening. You see it in South Africa with the KwaZulu insanity. You see it in Rwanda with the death and destruction. You saw it in Somalia. You saw it in Angola. The process of death and destruction that the Europeans put in place, wreaking death and havoc on our people. The enslavement Holocaust, and after enslavement there was the post-slavery colonialism and imperialism, which Dr. Tony Martin talked about. Africans were punished by the Europeans with a new level of exploitation with their new technology. They went to Berlin, called together by Bismarck, 1884-85, to plan the new level of the Holocaust. Even with the freedom processes, with our liberation processes haven't been successful, they planned to recolonize, imperialize Africa to get that mineral wealth. And the Germans, and the Belgians, and the Portuguese, and the French, and the Italians, the English were all involved. And we've got to be able to see it. Jews and Gentiles were involved in our destruction. That is the second phase, imperialism and colonialism. The third phase is now. It's debt slavery. Debt slavery is what they have us into now. The Holocaust continues. We can't go into the 21st century with debt slavery hanging around us. And the only way we can deal with it is to raise the question of reparations. Reparations has to be raised on the international stage so we can deal with debt slavery. But as we deal with the system of white supremacy and work to destroy it, we have to build a system of African self-development. And that is when Pan-Africanism comes into play. We just came from the 7th Pan-African Congress in Uganda, where hundreds, thousands of our people were mapping out a meaningful future for African peoples. The question of reparations has been raised over and over again. It was raised in England. I have a document from our brothers in England. It was raised in the Caribbean. It has been raised in Africa. There was a conference on reparations in Nigeria in '92 in December. There was another conference that just took place last April. I would have been there, but we had the trial. Reparations is a major issue. You've got to start studying, start getting the information so you can be a part of this process. Your history is the most enormous history in the world, no matter where you look at it. And you need to be a part of it. Even in enslavement, nobody has the history of struggle and liberation that was laid down by our peoples. So it is up to you to make the difference. We need to build a Pan-African system of African development as we march into the 21st century. Let me leave you with a couple of images which I think are important. Most of the information that we're talking about is in these books. I don't go anywhere without my armor. The most important armor that you have is the information and the knowledge. Armed with a critical mind, you are the most dangerous part of the human family. A critical thinking African. It's in these books. You want to understand the Middle Passage and slavery in the Caribbean? Tap into the School of Knowledge developed by Eric Williams. This is one book called From Columbus to Castro. His other great work was Capitalism and Slavery. But there's a whole school of knowledge that these brothers have been a part of. If you want to talk about the system of linking Europe and Africa and the New World, then you've got to deal with the spirit of Walter Rodney, the scholarship of Walter Rodney, the mind of Walter Rodney. And this book, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, tells us about the systemic relationship of the Europeans in relationship to Africa and the destruction and death that it was wrought. If you want to deal with other people who say they weren't involved in our enslavement, but we know they were because they wrote about it, then you've got to have a serious analytical process and study. Get the books. They wrote the books. It's there. Get Lopez of Newport, colonial American merchant prince who was hooked up with Washington himself in the enslavement process. This is a Portuguese Jew who was involved in a serious way in enslavement. You need to get the books and get serious. In terms of enslavement, you have to deal with Amsterdam. And this brother has produced several books dealing with Amsterdam, a whole school of thought. And it's in Amsterdam that the Jewish community was invited by the Protestants to join in the enslavement and the destruction of African peoples. European Jewry in the Age of Mercantilism, 1550 to 1750. The book is written by Jonathan Israel. He has 5 major books dealing with the relationship of Amsterdam and the Jewish community to the Sephardic Jewish community that was in the New World. You've got to understand, as Tony was saying, Dr. Tony Martin was saying, the importance of Suriname. You need to see the connection between Amsterdam, which became the leading slave port in the 1600s and 1700s, and the connection between Amsterdam and Fort Amsterdam along the coast of Africa in a place called Abanzi, and the connection between Amsterdam and Fort Amsterdam with New Amsterdam, which was the name for New York before it was changed to the Duke of York. And you have to see and understand that relationship between Amsterdam, Fort Amsterdam, and New Amsterdam. And then you have to be sophisticated in understanding Europeans fighting whole wars for control of this system of domination and death. And you have to see the Anglo-Dutch wars. And you have to see the Dutch and the British fighting 4 major wars for control of this world system of domination. And you have to see New Amsterdam becoming New York in 1660s. But what the Dutch gave up in terms of New Amsterdam was made up by picking up the New Netherlands, which became Suriname. And it became the leading slave port, slave colony of the Dutch. And in New Amsterdam, New Netherlands, called Suriname, at the height of enslavement in the 1730s, 400 plantations on the Jordan Savannah, the Jewish Savannah that Tony Martin mentioned. 115 of the 400 plantations were controlled and dominated by the Jewish community, the Sephardic Jewish community. And in those 115 plantations, they had 10,000 enslaved Africans. That's their own history. Don't take my word for it. Get a book called Economic Activities of the Jews of Amsterdam by Herbert Bloom. There are 40 or 50 books in my arsenal which deals with this. For people to go into denial and call us anti when they have been involved just like everybody else. The biggest economic exploitation in the history of the world, and you think that rich merchants and bankers who happen to be Jewish were not going to be involved in it? The Pope has apologized for the Catholic Church initiating enslavement. We know that the Protestants immediately got involved and compromised the Protestant Reformation. The Dutch, the Danes, the Belgians, the Swiss, the Brandenburg Germans were all involved. The Irish, the Italians, the English. It was a multicultural and multi-ethnic endeavor of the first kind. And then when they established this enslavement process, some of your founding fathers, I disown them now, some of your founding fathers set up for themselves, as they built this so-called new nation, a set-aside for the slavers, an affirmative action process for the slavers, welfare subsidy for the slavers, and built it into the Constitution. That's why you have to have these studies. You have to be able to make and understand what this is all about. And then if we want to deal with the Holocaust of the African mind, which goes on, the inability for us to think clearly about who and what we are, to understand what Africa has been to us, we have to put a lot of the blame, not only on the educational system, but right on Hollywood. And this is a book. This is a book written by an outstanding Jewish American, Neil Gebler, An Empire of Their Own, How the Jews Invented Hollywood. And then he goes on to name them: Harry Cohen, William Fox, Carl Laemmle, Louis B. Mayer, Jack and Harry Warner, Adolf Zucker. We can add a host of others, the Cohen brothers, the Shanks. We can add the Goldwins, involved in what? The Holocaust of destruction of the African mind. We have to be able to reconstitute this knowledge and make it work for us. The Hollywood devastation of Africans made Africa so negative that our people can't relate to it. Made the image of the black man so negative that it perpetuates itself even today. It's cultural. Even black folks are caught up in this process. So we've got to change that. You got to get serious. You got to get into the books, and I want to leave you with these last images about it. If they beat up on us because we were talking about a curriculum of inclusion, you have to understand what was the real deal. This is the curriculum of inclusion document which we put together, a team of scholars, Asian, Latino, Native American, and African, myself included, July '89. And the reason for the attack was because we were dealing with the truth of our experience, Africa, the mother of human civilization and culture, but more important, we were dealing with the Nile Valley. There is an attack which Dr. Khallid and myself are well aware of, Dr. Tony Martin, not about anti-Semitism. That's not the basis of what this is all about, but it's anti-Kemetism, the inability to deal with the significance of the Nile Valley. When we went to Harvard a couple of years ago, we announced very clearly that it was about anti-Kemetism and not about anti-Semitism. It's about the inability to deal with the African Holocaust, and Christopher Columbus is the symbol of that, as Dr. Clark has written. Christopher Columbus and the African Holocaust, slavery and the rise of European capitalism. It's about us tapping into this knowledge and talking about it. That's what this Albany speech was all about. I call it the greatest speech since the Gettysburg Address, because it raised the key issues that we had to raise. This and other things are available for you to help us with the legal struggle as we put together the war chest. We even have a tape of Dr. Jefferies' encounter with this African knowledge with Ed Koch, and that is available. It's probably be part of a major book that we're putting together. But I want to leave you with these last images quickly, because I know my brother is on me because he's got to let our brother Khallid come here. But we have to let you know, in Washington, D.C., when you feel and see this monument called George, you need to understand that this represents the African symbol of the male and female principle in harmony and balance, symbol of the African resurrection principle. When you see something like pyramids, you have to understand that these are pyramids built by your ancestors to their God concept. And on your dollar bill is your pyramid. But it's not just a physical pyramid, but you see a concept or an idea of the God knowledge. You see an eye on the top of the pyramid on your dollar bill. The eye of God, the Son of God. This spiritual knowledge you have to tap into and organize your brotherhoods and your sisterhoods of African liberation to make it work for you. And as we put the knowledge together, we have to institutionalize an African educational process in the spirit of the Great Lodge of Luxor, the Petit University Temple that your ancestors left as a tradition of brotherhood and sisterhood, trusteeship training for knowledge. This was the great university temple. This pillar temple, when you see a Lincoln Memorial, think Pillar Temple African. It was in this temple that the Greeks sat at the feet of the Africans to learn science and medicine. This temple inspired Solomon's temple. This temple inspired the Parthenon in Greece. It is not about anti-Semitism. It is about anti-Kemetism. And as you deal with the African world, you even have to change the map of the world. You got to get into the Peters map as opposed to the Mercator map. You've got to put Africa at the center and take Europe and put it up into the northern reaches. You have to deal with that concept of the northern cradle, southern cradle that Dr. Diop brought forth. And as you deal with this knowledge, you've got to have a timeline. As Asa Hilliard left us with the Kemetic timeline. And you can dismiss the Greeks. Don't worry about Dr. Snowden, who's here talking about this and that. Just put a timeline to the issue. Africans laid the foundation for culture and civilization in the Nile Valley 5,000 years ago. Old Kingdom, 1,000 years of African glory. After a period of disruption, the Middle Kingdom of African glory. 500 years, Africans coming up from the south establishing a Pan-African glory again. And then after the Hittite Asian invasion, you had a new kingdom established as Africans came up from the south again and established the third great golden age. And then 700 AD, you had the Nubian Renaissance. Again, Africans with their armies and armed with this culture come up from the south and establish one great last walk in the sun for African peoples called the Ethiopian Nubian Renaissance of Pianki, Tahaka, and Shabaka. It is at this time that the Bible is being written by the ancient Hebrews. It is at this time that the Greeks get writing. Homer's poems have been previously written have been dispensed in oral tradition. It is at this time that the Greeks are being invited into Africa or accepted into Africa to sit at the feet of the Africans. There is no Greek culture, there's no European culture of significance before this period of time. The Europeans come in as invading forces with the Persians, the Greeks, 525 BC. And it's from that point that we date the Greek Golden Age. Isn't it ironic that there was nothing significant in Greece before the 500s, before 500 AD? How come they had a Golden Age? Could it be that European invaders coming into Africa, tapping into that knowledge, helped to develop the Greek Golden Age? We think that that's the scientific truth, but you've got to tap into yours. You've got to change your mind and your culture. Africans laid the foundations for the great pyramids and culture. This is the image of the great pharaoh Zoser, whose partner Imhotep was worshipped by the Greeks as the god of medicine, a living African. This is Michael Jackson before he went into complete demolition and destruction of his African nest. The great pharaoh Zoser, another image because the Europeans are saying that Egypt was white. This is the image of the pharaoh Khafra, whose family dynasties built the level of great pyramid building in the Giza Plateau. Khufu, Khafra, and Menkaure and their queens. And this is the Sphinx. And this is not just a symbolic image. This is a deep principle of transformation. The ability of Africans to reach for protectability in the God concept. The Sphinx is a temple. There are three elements of transformation: the animal body, the human head, and inside the human head is the ability and consciousness to understand God. You have to see your traditions not in concrete forms. You have to see the material, philosophical, and the spiritual elements around that. That's the old kingdom, 1,000 years of African glory. Then up from the south come Africans led with the armies and the culture of Mentuhotep. This black man and his people opened the way for the Middle Kingdom, an enormous part of African development. It is in that period that they began to write the books on science and mathematics, the Epirus Medical Papyrus, the Rin Mathematical Papyrus, the Papyrus of Hunefa, the Berlin Papyrus, the Milan Papyrus. All these papyrus, the Moscow Papyrus, named after places where the Europeans stolen African goods have deposited them in their museums. Has nothing to do with Europeanness. African science, African philosophy, the Holocaust of the African mind can be reversed by dealing with this knowledge. And up from the south, following Mentuhotep were pharaohs like this, Amenemhotep III. This brother looked so strong, if I saw him coming across Howard campus, I might have to run down to D.C. University. Strong brother, Mentuhotep III. If you can't deal with the brother side view, then deal with him front view, then deal with him side view. This is the brother with his locks, his royal locks, Amenemhotep III. But don't just leave it to that brother. Let's deal with Wenseret, another great pharaoh looking like my brother, Marlon. Serious brother who was another part of those builders of that Middle Kingdom. But after the invasion, Africans didn't fall down, didn't die, didn't fade away. When the invaders came in, they organized. They didn't agonize. That was the theme of the Pan-African Congress. They pulled themselves together and went up into the Nile and swept away the oppressors. And it was led by the family of this great woman, Ahmes Nefertari. 1550 BC, this great woman is on the throne of Egypt. Why are we talking about dealing with Cleopatra 50 BC when we need to deal with these great women of African origin who continue this legacy of strength and development? The dynasty of the Ahmoses was followed by the dynasty of the Tutmoses, the Tuhutimos. This is Tutmosis III. Before him on the throne in Egypt was his sister, Queen Hatshepsut, who represents again that principle of the male and the female in the African tradition. But this last family and this last image I want to leave you are very important. Europeans will give you a tidbit on African knowledge and culture. This is the family of the Ahmoses that followed the family of the Tutmoses that followed the family of the Ahmoses. This dynasty you have bits and pieces of, the boy king Tutankhamun. But how come we don't deal with his family? If he was a boy king, he must have had a family. He married, the boy king married Ankhesemen, the daughter of Nefertiti. She had 6 daughters. How come you never see them together? And if Nefertiti is the mother-in-law of King Tut, how come you only see Nefertiti by herself? You never see Nefertiti in a family way. Nefertiti was of mixed African, Asian background coming from Mitanni, outside of Africa, an area now called Turkey. Nefertiti was brought into the royal family to marry as part of a diplomatic relationship. She was brought in and she married into the royal family, into one of the greatest Africans ever to live, the great pharaoh Akhenaten, Amenhotep IV. How come you never see this brother with his African wife? Could it be that if you put this African in the equation, it would clearly be not about anti-Semitism, but about anti-Kemetism? Because if you put this black man in the equation, then you've got to put his mama. All of us come from the womb of an African mama, and when you put Akhenaten in the picture, when you put Tutankhamun in the picture, when you put Nefertiti in the picture, you've got to put the greatest woman in the history of the ancient world, a symbol of your mother and mine, your grandmother and mine, the mother of Akhenaten, the consort of the great pharaoh, Amenhotep III, one of the greatest men in the history of the world. It is this woman who has to sing to our heart. She was one of the greatest women in the history of the world, and her name is not in anybody's history book. This was the mother-in-law of Nefertiti. She arranged for Nefertiti to come into Egypt and be a part of the royal family. How come she's never mentioned? She birthed Akhenaten, one of the greatest men in the history of the world, who's worshipped by white folks even today as the light of the world in the Rosicrucian movement. How come he is not and she is not together? How come you don't see her with her great husband Amenhotep III, who built and expanded the Great Lodge of Luxor, the greatest building of the ancient world? Could it be that it's about anti-Semitism? It's not about anti-Semitism, it's about anti-Kemetism. And the boy King Tutankhamun needs to be seen in a family way. And just let me leave you with this last thing, because this is very important. In the harbor of New York, they have a Statue of Liberty. And most of us have been trained and taught to have the pitter-patter of the heart around the Statue of Liberty that was there with its light to welcome the immigrants. I'm saying to the world again, as I've said many times, and I'm waiting for their scholars to come and challenge us. Not their legislators and politicians, because they're not scholars, not their newspaper people, because most of them just have a BA, they don't have MAs, they don't have PhDs, they haven't studied in Europe like the rest of us have. We're asking for their scholars to come forth to deal with this question of the African Holocaust in intellectual terms, in terms of it's not about anti-Semitism, it's about anti-Kemetism. Bring them forth to deal with us about the Statue of Liberty, which is a symbol of your struggle for liberation against your Holocaust in America. The Statue of Liberty has not a damn thing to do with immigrants. I told Ed Koch this, and he never got back to me on it. But he shut up for a year and a half. He knows the truth to be the truth. I said, as I met him in his office, that your parents and forebears had nothing to do with the Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty comes out of the struggle of my parents and forebears for liberation in America. The Statue of Liberty was conceived by a Frenchman, Edouard René Lafleur de la Boulaye, 1865. This Frenchman was a historian, he was a French politician, he was the head of the French Anti-Slave Society. And as I pursued this documentation and information on what the statue was all about, I went to the French consulate in New York, and they gave me this magazine called Liberty. And there at the bottom is Edouard René Lafleur de la Boulaye. There's Bartholdi, the sculptor who developed the Statue of Liberty. Edouard René Lafleur de la Boulaye came up with the idea in 1865 in one of the greatest moments in the history of the world, when our people struggling for liberation freed themselves in America and let 4 million of our people go free. It was at this moment that this Frenchman, who was a part of a libertarian tradition in France, who supported John Brown and sent his widow a gold medal, this Frenchman came up with the idea of a Statue of Liberty, because now America had this yoke of enslavement off its back. And the first image was sculptured by Bartholdi, because he had been to Africa as a 19-year-old, inspired by the Nile Valley. And when he realized that Bartholdi wanted, that Edouard René Lafleur de la Boulaye wanted another important image, he went back to the Nile and created the first image of the Statue of Liberty as a black woman holding the broken chains of enslavement. But a white America could not accept the black image of liberty. And they were about, after we freed ourselves and saved this nation, trying to put us back into semi-slavery with the second phase of the Holocaust, of tenant farming and wage slavery. And this Frenchman had this image created, but when he realized a racist white America, symbol of the system of white supremacy, could not accept the black image, he refashioned it into the image of his mother, using his girlfriend as a model, a white image. Put a torch in her hand, put a book of laws under her arm, but he could not deny the truth of the origin of the Statue of Liberty. And even today, at the foot of the white, reworked Statue of Liberty are the chains of enslavement that represents African liberation and struggle. We have to understand that as we raise all of these fundamental questions and redefine the history, white folks are not going to be comfortable. Negroes are not going to be comfortable. But we're going to have to pursue this because it is part of our sacred mission. And as Marcus Garvey says, up you mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. Give it up again
one of our greats, Dr. Leonard Jefferies. Dr. Leonard Jefferies. And with all of that said, guess who's coming up next? The fire has only begun to burn tonight. Brothers and sisters, it's reparations or else. Reparations or else. We will not stop. What we want to do, brothers and sisters, very briefly, is where Unity Nation is sponsoring a conference, a major conference in the fall, where we're going to have this as a piece of a major 7-day conference. We hope you appreciate the work that we've been doing, and we want you to back us, so there are going to be a few receptacles going around, and if you donate and help us out and give us some charity, $10, $20. If you want to make a check out to Unity Nation, we will take your money and fight on the front lines for you. So as the receptacles are passed around, please assist us in the work that we're doing. Who we supporting for mayor? Who we supporting for the next mayor? Who? Marion Barry. No question about it. Unity Nation officially endorses Marion Barry to return to the mayor's office as a symbol for the resurrection and the rise of all of our people. We back Marion Barry. I know some of you don't like it. You like Sharon Pratt Kelly. You love her. Where the bus? So once again, brothers and sisters, as the charity receptacles are passed around, please help us out tonight and support the efforts that we have coming in the fall. And really, we want to take the Black Holocaust all around the country. So, brothers and sisters, are we ready now to receive the sword? The man who was repudiated by the president, repudiated by the vice president, repudiated by the House, repudiated by the Senate, repudiated by some handkerchief head buck dancing Negroes. But he has been repudiated and denounced, but we announce Brother Khallid and say who he is. He's a freedom fighter. He's a soldier. He's a warrior. He's a scholar. We love Dr. Khalid Muhammad. We back Dr. Khalid Muhammad. We always want to continue to hear from Dr. Khalid Muhammad. As we sat and we had dinner last night with the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, who was visiting in town, he told us that we were winning this war on all fronts. And he told us to continue the work that we were doing. So Brother Khallid is now more popular than ever. The white man made a big mistake by jumping on this bald-headed black man, because this black man now will become more loved and endeared than ever. Are you ready to hear from Dr. Khalid Muhammad? Are you ready to hear from the baddest bald-headed black man on the 196,940,000 square miles of the planet Earth? Let us bring on our brother, Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad, the sword. Receive him.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of all the world. I bear witness that there is but one God, whose spirit and power and force came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever. And we thank that one God for raising up his messenger and his Messiah, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we thank the two of them for the man who is anointed and appointed for this hour of our resurrection and our rise, the champion of the liberation and salvation of the black nation. I speak of none other than the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, in the name of Master Farad Muhammad, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I greet you, my beloved and beautiful black sisters and brothers and others, with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Hotep. Alafia. Free the land. What's up? And black laws for all black people. It is indeed my honor to be a part of history. It is indeed my honor to be a part of us writing history here tonight at Howard University, and to be the guest of Unity Nation, headed up by that great student warrior. He's not selling drugs. He's not a young man who can be found in the highways and byways of America, actually involved in crime that the white man has set up for young black men and women to participate in. But he's a freedom fighter. He's a young student that is standing up for the liberation of his people and fighting for his people's resurrection and rise. Unity Nation now catching on all across the nation. Student organizations represented here tonight from Texas, from California, from Georgia, from throughout the Midwest and throughout the Eastern Seaboard. And so to be a part of this evening at this Black Holocaust Memorial, to Brother Malik Zulu Shabazz, our host, to Dr. Tony Martin, Dr. Steve Coakley, Dr. Leonard Jefferies, to the representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in this city of Washington, D.C., Minister Sean Muhammad, to our regional minister, Dr. and Minister Arif Muhammad, a graduate of the Howard University Law School, to that great fighter who has laid a foundation in this area, Minister and Dr. Aleem Muhammad, to Minister Fariz Hadi, representing the Honorable Silas Muhammad. And I don't know if he is present, but our great elder, Dr. Robert Brock, Brother James Cameron, Sheikh Shabazz, Brother Duno, and others who have fought for us in this great struggle. In the Hall of Remembrance of the Jewish Holocaust Memorial, as my young son Farrakhan, who is seated here, give him a black hand, Brother Malik, and Brother Malik Zulu Shabazz and others who were with us as we stood in the Hall of Remembrance of the Holocaust Memorial. Thank you, son. We read the inscription on the wall of the Hall of Remembrance of the Jewish Holocaust Memorial. And let these words be imprinted on our hearts and in our minds here tonight. Only guard yourself and guard your soul carefully, lest you forget the things your eyes saw, and lest these things depart your heart all the days of your life. And you shall make them known to your children and to your children's children. I say the same for what you have heard and seen and will see here tonight. These esteemed scholars who have come before me, they have busted the statistics and dropped the realistics, and now I'm going to kick the ballistics. We set forth here tonight that the black Holocaust is 100 times worse than the so-called Jew Holocaust. Why do we even need to make a comparison? Because it was the old no-good President Buck-Tooth Jimmy Carter who stepped out and stepped forward when they were beginning to prepare to build the Jewish Holocaust Memorial. It was Jimmy Carter who said that it was the most unspeakable crime in the history of all time. He made a statement of comparison. When we deal with General David Eisenhower, General David Eisenhower made similar statements that we read and we saw on the walls of the Jewish Holocaust Memorial yesterday, making the world to believe that this was the most overpowering crime and atrocity against humankind in the history of all time. Everyone has come and said that it is the worst Holocaust that has ever existed, but all of a sudden when we come out on you, you now back down and claim that you never made a comparison. Well, tonight I'm going to make a comparison. We're going to lay the case out and see which Holocaust is the most dreadful, which Holocaust is the most vicious and bestial Holocaust, most bloody Holocaust ever recorded in the annals of time. But you want to deny us because you owe us reparations and you don't want to pay up today. The so-called Jew Holocaust. And I say so-called Jew because he's not a real Jew. He's a Johnny-come-lately Jew who just crawled out of the caves and hills of Europe just a few days ago. So you're not even a real Jew, buddy. The so-called Jew Holocaust lasted, you with me? Because I got to drop this stuff tonight because I'm a truth terrorist. I'm a knowledge gangster. I'm a black history hitman. I'm a lie killer, urban guerrilla. I gotta be a roughneck. Gotta be a roughneck. It's the only way I know to go. The Jew Holocaust lasted 10 years. But the Holocaust of the black man and woman lasted over 500 years. Let's look at it. 1 10 years, 1 500 years. Maybe I'm a little confused. Maybe I'm too much of a racist. Maybe I'm too much of a bigot and an anti-Semite when I'm really none of that. But maybe just by chance, 10 years is greater than 500 years. Let's kick the ballistics. You say you lost 6 million, and we question that. You say you lost 6 million, but for the sake of argument, we'll give you 6 million. We lost over 600 million lives in the African, the black Holocaust over the past 6,000 years and over the past 400 to 500 years. In specific, maybe I'm a little bit confused. Maybe I'm too big a racist or an anti-Semite or a bigot. And maybe somehow 6 million is greater than 600 million. That possibility is there. You have your Schindler's List, which is really a swindler's list. Because you were involved in the slave trade. You were involved and you don't want to actually accept your involvement because you too want to escape reparations. You want to escape reparations and what is due the black man and black woman. Let's look at it. You talk about the death marches. My guide was a very nice lady. Miss Sarah Bloomfield. She worked very closely with my son, Farrakhan, and I as we were there. And we listened to Miss Bloomfield closely and carefully. We didn't go in for a show. We went in to study. We went in to do research. It wasn't a media event. We didn't even allow the media to go in with us so they would be following us around, looking at us at everything we were trying to feel and study. My son and I, we looked. Yes, we were sensitive to what we saw, pain and suffering. We're the chosen people of God. We are a spiritual people by nature, and we feel the pain and suffering of any people anywhere on the face of the planet Earth, even the people who helped to put us in this condition. So maybe we need to reevaluate that. My son looked at some of the Germans killing the Jews, so-called Jews, and he said, "This is sick, Daddy." And as we looked at it, feeling that, we saw where you talked about the death marches, where the Jews were forced in mass to move from one camp to the next camp, from one ghetto to the next ghetto. But what about the death marches in Africa? What about the sons and daughters of Africa put on desperate death marches for economic gain and financial purposes as we were marched hundreds of miles, some of us dying in the heat of the sun, trying to move us from the East Coast to the West Coast, trying to move us from Southern Africa back to a coastal area, or from the northern region to a coastal area? What about the massive death marches that took our lives on the African continent? They said that by the summer of 1942, there were over 400 ghettos. We question that. That the Jews were forced and confined into over 400 ghettos. Well, you might have 400 ghettos in just one state, one county. You are removed from your ghettos of Warsaw and Krakow. You are removed from your ghettos, white Jew. But these, the sons and daughters of Africa, we are still in the ghettos of white America to this very day that we sit here tonight. We are still in our ghettos. You talked about how they had to build overhead sidewalks, that Jews were not allowed to walk with the Germans. They built overhead sidewalks. Well, the black man and the black woman, we were not allowed to walk on the same sidewalk with the cracker. When old snuff-dipping, tobacco-chewing, salt-chewing, overall-wearing Peckerwood was on the sidewalk, we had to jump out in the street and let the Peckerwood walk on the sidewalk. They even had what was called laughing barrels. If we were talking and something was funny to us, we couldn't even laugh openly. We had to go and open a barrel up. I've seen some of them in Charleston, down in the Carolinas, and stick our head down in the barrel and laugh so that when we came back up in the presence of white folks, we were straight-faced. Let's look at it. You built your Holocaust memorial. Cost over $200 million. That's what Brother Dr. Brock is talking about. That's what Brother James Cameron is talking about in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, who is working to set up the Black Holocaust Museum there because of what happened to him and all of our people, but him in the summer, the month of August of 1930, where he was with his two friends, 16, 18, and 19, accused of raping a white woman, which they did not do. You've seen the picture of the brothers hanging there. And Brother James Cameron was the one of the three that escaped the hangman's noose. And now he is now setting up the Black Holocaust Museum in Milwaukee, and we should work to help him set it up, and we should set them up all over America. $200 million to set up your African Holocaust Museum because the space should be ours. The 2 million should be ours. That's the point I'm making. It should be our African Holocaust Museum. But you, with a swindler's lip, have swindled us, have stolen our birthright. And now our African Holocaust Museum, you claim it. They told me that you get $21 million yesterday, they said, a year, just for operating expenses alone. $21 million from the government of the United States of America just for operating expenses. Every year, your Holocaust, you say, took place in Germany, took place thousands of miles from here, but no museum, no Holocaust, no 200 million, no 21 million, not even $1,000, not $1 has been put aside. And our Holocaust took place and is still taking place right here on this soil, here in the hills of North America. You say you were herded away in boxcars. Where's the photo? Bring it around, Brother Steve. You were herded in boxcars. We were brought in the holds of slave ships. You say it was 1619, but white folks do lie. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teach us that we came here in the year 1555. We didn't come on the Nina, the Pinta, nor the Santa Maria, not that way. And we didn't come on the Mayflower. We didn't land at Plymouth Rock. We got hit in the head with the damn rock. We came in the holds of ships to be made burden bearers for white America, stacked and packed like sardines in a can and like cockroaches in a Coke bottle. We lost over 150 to 200 million black lives just in the Middle Passage, just coming over between Africa and America. We have not only experienced a Holocaust, but we have paid a hell of a cost. I didn't come here tonight to be soft at a black Holocaust observance. The white folks and the so-called white Jews, you've gotten me busted. And I accept the discipline and the judgment of my spiritual father, leader, teacher, and guide, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. There is no division in the Nation of Islam. I follow a divine chain of command. I'm saying, whoop, there it is. There it is. I follow a divine chain of command. But you've gotten me busted. So I'm no longer national assistant, no longer national spokesman, no longer national representative, no longer even a minister in the Nation of Islam. So nothing I say now can you attempt to use against God's man, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. None of my words can you attempt to use against him. You took a calculated risk that I would turn on my teacher. 30 years ago, we played out this same history with the history of Minister Malcolm X. El Hajj Malik El Shabazz, Brother Omar Wali, and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad during the 60s. But the 6 is a 9 turned upside down. And these are the 90s. We're going to turn the 6 of the 60s right side up in the 90s and put a positive period behind that history of Elijah and Malcolm. There is no Malcolm without Elijah, and there is no Khallid without Farrakhan. Make no mistake about it. So you've gotten me busted. But you can't use my words against my teacher and my spiritual father anymore. And you've gotten me busted, and now I'm going to go buck wild on your behind. I'm not giving you no kind of break today. All praise is due to Allah. Going buck wild on you today. Free me up here. Free me up here. I'm going to be like a pit bulldog. And you know when a pit bulldog bites you in your backside, and that's the way I'm going to be on the Jew, that's the way I'm going to be on the rest of these peckerwoods and crackers. I came here tonight to be strong. I didn't come to lighten up, I came to tighten up. Didn't come to pin the tail on the donkey, I came to pin the tail on the honky. That's why I'm here tonight. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. Good evening. This is the truth hour. And don't you touch that dial. You stay tuned in to the truth hour. I'm going to lock my jaws in the backside of these no-good imposter perpetrating a fraud Jews behind, and the rest of these crackers behind. And you know when a bulldog bites, his jaws lock. And only Farrakhan has the keys to unlock these jaws. Only Farrakhan has the keys to unlock these jaws. Before it's over, you will go to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and beg him to put me back on post. Gee whiz, golly gee, Farrakhan, can you get him back on post? Get him off of us, Farrakhan, please. Because I don't give a damn about you. I don't care about these damn cameras. I don't care about your newspapers. I don't care what you say about me. I was born to give you hell from the cradle to the grave. That's what I'm born for. All praise is due to Allah. Not only will the so-called imposter Jew beg the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, not only will the other white folks beg him, but these half-baked, half-fried, boot-licking, butt-licking, buck-dancing, bamboozled, punkified, sissified, pasteurized, homogenized niggers and Uncle Toms will beg him too before it's all over. Oh, bootlicking Major Owens. Oh, bootlicking Charlie Rangel. Oh, bootlicking, buck-dancing, scratching, shuffling, messy Jesse Jackson. Who keep. I am a somebody. I am a somebody for keep hope alive. I am a somebody. I don't rightly know who the hell I am, but I am somebody. I am a somebody. Jesse Louis Jackson, you can't serve two masters, Jesse Jackson. You're a brilliant black man. We love you, Jesse Louis Jackson, but you gotta stop boot-licking and butt-licking and buck-dancing and bending over to give evil an opening. What after NAFTA? What after NAFTA, except more white folks' laughter, green eggs and ham, green eggs and ham. I am Sam. Down. Black people put in slavery. They robbed us of our names, our language, our religion, our culture, our God, our folkways, our mores. Robbed us of the very power of our own being. No Jew on the face of the planet Earth can say that you were robbed of your name, your language, your religion, your culture, your God, your folkways, your mores, your norms. If you do, you're a damn liar. And as Jesus said, the truth is not in you. You make me sick. Always got some old crinkly wrinkle cracker that you bring up talking about this is one of the Holocaust victims. Dr. Jefferies is a Holocaust victim. My son Farrakhan is a Holocaust victim. Dr. Tony Martin is a Holocaust victim. Our brother, what's your name, brother? Brother who? Brother Jackson Bay is a Holocaust victim. Minister Sean is a Holocaust victim. God damn it, I'm looking at a whole audience full of Holocaust victims. All of you, you and you and you and you and you, all of you are Holocaust victims. Every last one of you is a Holocaust victim. No good, dirty, low-down bastard. Praise be to Allah. Praise be to Allah. See ya, and I wouldn't want to be ya. That's the way we have to be. You have to give these bastards hell, every last one of them. And there will come a time when we won't even allow you to come in the goddamn door. We'll run you out of here with your cameras and everything. We will run you down the streets of the cities of America. Watch me. We look at them participating in the Black Holocaust in South Africa. Damn it, blood can be flying everywhere. And here's some cracker with a camera right in the middle of all of it. A body falling to his right, a body falling to his left, and this cracker's there with a camera. There'll come a time when we'll make you run off and leave these damn cameras. I don't care nothing about them. And your problem is you're too weak-hearted, you're too chicken-hearted. Some of us, not all, but some of us. I don't teach my baby about no Crispus Attucks. Crispus Attucks was the one who first to die in the American Revolution. The nigga should have died. I teach him about Nat Turner. I teach him about Denmark Vesey. I teach him about Gabriel Prosser. I teach him about Toussaint Louverture. I teach him about Henrik Christoph. I teach him about Gasoline the Ferocious. I teach him about Will the Executor. I teach him about Boukman. I teach him about Nzinga. I teach him about Kandase. I teach him about Queen Ya Asante. I teach him about the warriors and the freedom fighters. I teach my baby about Colin Ferguson, who caught the New York Railroad train just a few days ago. And I'd say to every one of you, if you leave Colin Ferguson in that jail to be beat up by these crackers, and now it has come out by some of the black officers that this happens all the time, where they set black inmates up in these jails and penitentiaries, and in particular there in Nassau County, and pulled all the black officers out and the black inmates so they could jump on Brother Colin Ferguson. because they were mad with him for catching the Long Island train and killing all them white folks. I love Colin Ferguson. I have no official position, so I can say I love him. I love Colin Ferguson. And I say to every one of you with your red, black, and green, your kente cloth, your gele, your grand booba, if you will denounce and repudiate and condemn Colin Ferguson, you should never utter the name of Nat Turner again from your mouth, because Colin Ferguson is a modern-day Nat Turner. He didn't get on that train of his own. God put him on that train. God spoke to Nat Turner. God spoke to Denmark Vesey. God spoke to Colin Ferguson and say, I want you to catch the Long Island train today. Let the church say amen. Let the church say amen again. Let the church say amen one more time. God spoke to Colin Ferguson and said, catch the train. Catch the train. And catch the train today, Colin. The train going to Long Island. God sends tornadoes. Is that right? God sends hurricanes. Is that right? God sends earthquakes. Is that right? Well, that day God sent Colin Ferguson. Is that right? God sent Colin Ferguson. If your Holocaust lasted 10 years and ours lasted 500, how can you compare, buddy? If you lost 6 million and we lost 600 million, that's 100 times more than yours. How can you compare, buddy? Huh? If you never lost your name, your language, your religion, your culture, your God, your folkways, your mores, your norms, and in most cases they haven't lost your mind the way we have, how can you even compare? You are so arrogant. We wouldn't even have to have this kind of discussion if you would just act like a human being. But you can't act like a human being. You can't even act like a human being. We looked at white Germans killing white so-called Jews and other poor white Europeans. Poor meaning poor. We said, man, if the white man will kill another white man like that, if the white man will kill a white baby like that, if the white man will kill a white woman like that, hell, we don't stand a chance. If he will do his own like that, we don't even stand a chance. While we were there, I tried to separate Hitler from the rest of white folks. Yes, I did. For a moment. For a moment, I tried to say that Hitler was just some freak of nature, that he could be set apart from other white people. But then I said, look at this. Where's the other one? Bring it out, Brother Steve. 4 black men. They would sell tickets to burn us alive. They had raffle tickets to determine who would get the ear, who would get the big toe from the right foot, who would get the little toe from the left foot. And this freakish, no-good, peckerwood, cracker white man, they all fought over the male organ as to who would take that home. Don't lie and say you didn't. It's the same with your no-good, freakish rabbi. I read it in the Jerusalem Post. I call out any of your scholars. I saw the little cracker that was in here a little while ago. What was Richard Cohen? Ran out of here like a screaming, flaming faggot. You hide behind these newspapers. I'm sorry, these Jews papers. You hide behind these Jews papers in these Jews rooms that you call newsrooms. And so you have the evening 6 o'clock, the 5 o'clock Jews, news. And the 10 o'clock Jews, news. You want to hide. We call you out to debate. Give us your best mind. Give us the best so-called Jew you got. Give us a whole team of them. Give us a whole forum with nothing but your best mind. But you run from us. You hide from us. And I say to every black man in this audience, when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan gives the call sometime within a year or so for 1 million black men to converge on Washington, D.C., not to sing "We Shall Overcome," every black man should be here. And black woman, if you got a black man who won't go, you should make sure he gets out of the house. You should make sure that he answers the call. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, I was in there honestly because of the spiritual qualities that are in the black man and black woman, God's chosen people. It operates in the revolutionaries, the freedom fighters, the revolutionary scholars, the revolutionary warrior students. It operates in all of us. I was actually trying to set Hitler apart from other white folks. But then I realized that I just couldn't do it. I say they sold tickets. They had excursions, caravans, train rides to see a major sporting event. A nigger lynched today. 2 niggers lynched today. 3 niggers, 4 niggers lynched today. Billie Holiday would sing the song, or Bessie Smith, one of them, about trees in the South with a strange fruit with blood at the root. This is the strange fruit. The black man, black woman, Billie Holiday. Take pregnant black women, bring them out in front of other black women, strip them naked. There in the Holocaust, you can stay right there, brother. Right in the Holocaust Memorial, they had piles of shoes, as though I was supposed to be impressed. And they said, well, over in Germany, we have just rooms full of shoes. They took all of the personals of these people from them. Wasn't that cruel? I said, God damn it, we didn't even have shoes. You can't pile those shoes up in a room for us, because we didn't even have shoes. When they took us from Africa, they stripped us of our diamonds and our gold and our silver, our material resource, our spiritual resource, and our human resource. Yes, sir. And when we came here, most of the time we didn't have shoes. We went barefoot. Huh? Right. Stripped the black woman of whatever little tattered rags she had. 9 months pregnant. Tie her up. Tie horses to one leg, horses to the other leg. Beat the horses, make them run in opposite directions until they rip and pull the black woman apart, and the unborn black baby fall from her, and a no-good cracker would bring another black woman out, her stomach full 9 months with the fruit of her womb, take his knife and stick it in her full stomach with the roundness of her stomach, rip it open and stick his AIDS, syphilis, gonorrhea hand inside and snatch the unborn black baby from her, throw it to the ground and crush the baby's head with his boot heel, and make other pregnant black women watch so that the adrenaline of fear would course its way through her veins and bathe her brains and touch the unborn life in her, hoping that the babies would be born, afraid of a wicked, cruel slave master. Look at this no-good bastard. And some of you want to integrate with him. I believe in freedom and independence. I believe in separation and independence. A nation of our own. That's right. A nation of our own. That's the book. That's But some of you don't want to go nowhere. You want to stay right here with the white man. Freedom and independence. If the founding fathers of America could call for freedom and independence under conditions that were nowhere near the conditions that we have been and are operating under today, why can't we call for freedom and independence? Our own flag, our own nation, our own government, our own laws. But most of you just want to intellectualize the subject. You think we can read our way out of this. You better read, but you better get up and get ready to get free. Most of you want to sing, we shall overcome. You better add another stanza, we shall overrun. Lift every voice and sing, but you better lift every fist and swing too. At the same time, if we're going to gain freedom and independence. I'm a soldier. I was born that way. I don't care about nothing else but that. But aren't you afraid that you are going to get killed? Jesus, the black revolutionary Messiah, said, he or she who seeks to save his life shall lose his life. And he who is willing to give his life or her life shall save their life. But I don't want to die for the cause. I'll kill for the cause. It's the only way we'll get free. But we got a mighty God that is backing us up today, sending irregular rain, snow, hail, and earthquake, and confusing the government of the white man and the minds of the white man. The Catholic Church admitted their role in slavery. The so-called Jews want to lie. We just were 2% of the population. Don't make no difference what percent you were. 75% of you, 2/3 of you, according to your own Jewish census takers and statistics, were involved in the slave trade. I didn't say 75% of all the slaves were owned by the Jews. I said 75% of the Jews owned slaves. But you put a spin on it and a twist on it to make it seem ridiculous, because you're just a liar and the truth is not in you. As Jesus says in the 8th chapter of the book of John, that you are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning. He abode not in the truth, because there's no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, Jesus said, he's a liar and the father of the lie. And Jesus said that his word had no place in the Jews. Read John starting with the 8th chapter, starting with the 31st verse, down to the 44th verse. And when I say Jesus up here, I'm not talking about no blonde-haired, blue-eyed, pale-skinned, buttermilk complexion, white Jesus. I'm talking about a black Jesus. That the Bible says would have nappy hair and his body would be like burnt bronze or brass, as though it had been burnt in an oven. Give the white man his white Jesus back, put it in the garbage can, set it out on the corner, and let the garbage man pick it up and take it to the garbage dump. It's a form of spiritual genocide, a form of mental genocide and Holocaust. 40 to 50 million Holocaust survivors still in the death camps of America, still in the ghettos of America, still robbed of our names with Harry McGillicuddy, Jim Dandy O'Houlihan, Abraham Lincoln Culpeper, Hattie Mae Hamburger with lettuce and tomatoes on the side. Robbed completely of a knowledge of ourselves. No other people in the annals of time have been so robbed and spoiled. The Bible said these are a people who are robbed and spoiled. They are snared in holes and hidden in prison houses. But we must rise up like Ra. Rise up like Ra. And take on a new life and take on a new birth. I say I criticize the Pope. I don't have any respect for the Pope. The hell you mean I called him a cracker? So damn what? The Pope don't like me. The Pope does not respect my leader and teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He has no respect for the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he is one of the perpetrators in our genocide and our current condition. You offer an apology? We're sorry. Everybody else gets reparations. Damn Jews get over 70 billion, over 100 billion. But you offer us, I owe you an apology. We are so sorry. No. Use your influence to get reparations for us. Use your influence to ease the debt that is strangling and choking the life out of African nations from the World Bank and the IMF and the other MFs. You say, and this is the first time you heard from me on this, and I think you should at a Black Holocaust observance. Well, you called for the death of the men, the women, the children, and the babies. Hell, you had heard that here at Howard University long before King College. Killing our men, our women, our children, and our babies in South Africa. Have killed them over a long period of time. And so I call for my people to stand up and fight back. And you have a problem with that? And because I said that we don't owe the white man nothing in South Africa. We give him 24 hours to get out of town by Sunday. I don't respect the process. I don't respect the elections process. You don't break in my damn house, bum rush my house, black boot stomp my door down, and then one day I gain the power to take my house back, and now we gonna hold a vote. And I'm so silly, you take the west wing of the house, you can take this wing over here, and anytime a dispute comes up here, we will vote on it. One person in this house, one vote. That's a fool. No compromise in South Africa. We don't compromise with the white man in South Africa. You couldn't take America and then turn around and expect the white man to share it with you. Hell, he won't even share it with us when he promised us 40 acres and a mule in 1866 and then turned around and Andrew Johnson vetoed it. No Jew in here has to live under the yoke of bondage and oppression that we still live under and have lived under for the past 500 years. The first president of these United States, these United Snakes, I didn't call it that. Benjamin Franklin used to write in the newspaper. The flag, one of the early flags was a snake for America. When the Union was split, the snake was split up. And they talked about uniting the Union and putting the snake back together. So and they said, don't tread on me. That was on your flag, white man. So I call you the United Snakes of America. Because that's exactly what it is. As I near my conclusion here, at the Jewish Holocaust Memorial, they talked about books that were a part of the education system under Hitler, and talked about a little book called The Poison Mushroom. Well, hell, we got a book called Little Black Sambo. You telling me about a damn poison mushroom? Little Black Sambo. Dick and Jane were white. The milkman was white. The mailman was white. Huh? The fireman was white. The policeman was white. Mama was white. Daddy was white. The only one that had any black was Spot, and he was black and white. You got the little poison mushroom, but we got Little Black Sambo and many other books that poison the minds of black people here in the hells of North America. I have a few more points here, and we should be able to close out. We remember Emmett Till. We remember Cheney. We remember the Scottsboro Boys, as they called it. We remember the churches that were bombed then, and your plot to bomb churches even today. We remember the Sunday school lesson in the church in Alabama being the love that forgives when you bomb the church. We witnessed Dela Beckwith, who killed Meredith, Evers, who killed Medgar Evers, Brother Medgar Evers, and how long it took the so-called wheels of justice to finally get around because his widow, Sister Murley, didn't give up. But it's not justice for Dela Beckwith to go to prison. When we become a free and independent people, the only solution to the Dela Beckwith case would be that Dela Beckwith would be to be dead. That's the only way we can say that the blood of Medgar Evers is satisfied. We remember Birmingham. We remember Montgomery, Alabama. We remember the vicious dogs, and they showed this at the Jewish Holocaust Memorial, but we remember the vicious dogs that would actually leap into the chest of our women during these civil rights marches and bite their breasts off, leap up into the groins of a black man and actually with sharp teeth bite his reproductive, regenerative organ off. Yeah. We remember your cattle prods and your water hoses turning the water pressure loose on us. No Holocaust greater than this one. Don't even try it. Brothers and sisters, after all of these lies, you deserve a break today. You deserve a break today. The white man has a frequent liar program. There's a frequent liar program, and he's always going to lie. But we must now document our own history. And as Dr. John Henry Clark has warned us, that we are the only people who have no monuments, no memorials set up for our dead, for our pain, for our suffering. So now these bootlicking Negroes in the CBC, the Congressional Black Caucus, who stood up to condemn me in the United States Congress, the first time in the history of the world that the United States Congress, and I got the congressional record and looked at the debate that went on. Don Edwards from California took to the floor, they say, like James Madison, come back to life. And he warned Tom Lantos, the Jew, so-called Jew congressman from California who put the resolution on the floor. They warned them, if you do this, then the United States Congress is flying in the face of the First Amendment. Never before has the United States Congress condemned officially as an act of Congress one of its so-called citizens. The benchmark case of Justice Douglas in Taramello versus Chicago 1949 laid the base for what the white folks call free speech, but you can see it's not worth the paper that it's written on. The Senate condemned me 97-0. So we, Dr. Jefferies, want to bring our case against the Senate and against the Congress with their own law and violation of that law themselves, and go after them that way, for we believe that we have strong grounds to stand on. So brothers and sisters, let us go forth from here, and as we go forth from here, let us build a greater cohesiveness and unity and love among ourselves. Let's build brotherhood, sisterhood, friendship and fellowship and sistership and brothership, and get rid of the bullshit. I didn't say that other word. Let's get rid of the nigger mess and pull together and get away from this division and disunity that keeps us bowing at the feet of our enemy and oppressor who divides us and has conquered us and has put us in this condition. Brothers and sisters, I thank you for being as attentive as you have been, and I want you to stand just for a minute. Just stand for a minute. Don't leave. Everybody hold your position. I'm not. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has asked that we extend his greetings and support to Dr. Jefferies, to Dr. Martin, to Dr. Steve Coakley, to Brother Malik Zulu Shabazz, and everyone in attendance here tonight. And I want to extend that to all of you here tonight as I just received this note from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Let's give him a hand. Please hold your positions. Please hold your positions. We have one important thing that must be done, but I want to close this segment out. Put your black fists in the air. Everyone, put your fists in the air. We're going to close out my segment with 7 Harambe. Harambe, as Dr. Maulana Karenga has taught us, means let us all pull together. It's only a demonstration, but we go 6 times. Harambe. We go back up. Harambe. But on the 7th one, we hold it. Harambe. All right, black fist in the air. Every time we bring this big black fist down, we're bringing it down on disunity. Every time we bring it down, we're bringing it down on the boot-licking, butt-licking, buck-dancing, bamboozled Uncle Toms. Every time we bring this big black fist down, we're bringing it down on apathy so that we will stand up and do that which will bring us freedom and independence in accord with God's law. On the count of 3, Jali 2, Harambe, 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 Harambe. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Please be seated. Hold your positions. Please be seated. Please be seated. Don't bum rush the door. Chill. Please don't fill the aisle. Stop right where you are. Stop. Everybody, please have a seat. Please don't be disrespectful. Please have a seat. Right where you are. Stop right in this section, right in there. Please have a seat. I turn the meeting back over into the hands of the student warrior, Brother Malik Zulu Shabazz. Huh? Okay, well, come on, we'll do it together. And we want to work here tonight to help this student organization to offset many of the expenses and to further this work. We have our charity and donation receptacles already set up. Is there anyone in this audience tonight who will donate $100 or write a good check? Is there anyone here who will donate $100? I'll donate the first $100 if 5 will match mine. Is there anyone who will donate $100? There's a hand and there's another hand. What's your name, sister or brother? I can't see over there. Sister, what's your name? Sister Fran Staunton. $100, Sister Fran Staunton. My brother, are you going to get it? Who else will donate $100? Oh, brothers and sisters, who else will donate $100 or $50? Who else will donate $100 or will donate $50? I'll go in and drop mine even though the other 4 are not there. Are there any 50s in the audience or 100s? 50s or 100s? Your name? All right, $100. Give him a black hand, brothers and sisters. Any more hundreds? Give him a black hand. Any more hand? Any more hundreds? You can give him a white hand too if you're out there. Any more hundreds? Any 50s? Some gave at the door. Any more 50s, any more 100s? How many will give $20 or $10? Hold your hands. Hold your hands. 10s, 20s, everybody. That's a lot of hands. Let's turn around, brother, and let's go and get all the 10s and 20s. My sister. Anybody that has 5 or 10 or 20, even if you only have $1 or $2, put it in now, brothers and sisters. That's all right, man. Put your hands up, please. Let's pass the bucket one more time down each aisle. Just start on the end and just pass it. You got people all behind you, brother.
Brothers and sisters, we're going to be at the Howard Inn after for questions and answers, and you can meet and greet our guests. There will be food there provided and on sale, and the tape of tonight's lecture is in the lobby. So come on down to the Howard Inn and be with us. The tape is $12. It's a 3-tape.
Brothers and sisters, hold your hands up. Here they are, some right over here, here. The brothers with the buckets, would you please move to these areas? With the buckets, please move to these areas. Everyone, give 5, give 10, give 20, give 100, give 50. Yes, sir. Everything. Don't miss anything. Just grab it off. Good. We'll see you at the Howard Inn for the reception, the question and answer period, and an opportunity to meet with Brother Steve Coakley, with Dr. Tony Martin, Dr. Leonard Jefferies, Brother Malik Zulu Shabazz, and myself. Please, we will not be doing any questions here. You'll be able to get books, the Jewish Onslaught, and others there on location. Where's brother?
Former Nation of Islam spokesman Khallid Mohammed spoke Tuesday night at Howard University in Washington, D.C., discussing what he called the Black Holocaust. You can see this program early Thursday morning just before 4 Eastern Time on our companion network, C-SPAN. And later, just...